Rappers get locked up all the time, but most of them aren't running around eating people and getting into shootouts with SWAT teams like the rappers we're talking about today. These are rappers who spent time in jail on crazy charges. Big Lurch had some motion in the rap game, but then he became way more famous after he killed his roommate and started eating her. Big Lurch had some crazy bars on tracks like I Did It To You when he rapped, I'm like a vampire, nigga, fresh meat, I can't pass it, walking down the street with a syringe, injecting fools with battery acid, and cause murder's a hobby, I'm using a torture chamber and not a Ruger. So if you wake up in a puddle of blood, nigga, I did it to you. A lot of rappers in that era like Big L and 3 6 Mafia had crazy lyrics about killing people and worshiping the devil. But Big Lurch was the only one who actually got booked for eating somebody. In April 2002, Big Lurch beat his roommate Tanisha to death and ripped her body open with a knife. There were teeth marks on her face and her lungs. And when the cops found Big Lurch, he was walking down the street covered with blood and had parts of Tanisha's lungs in his stomach. The night before Big Lurch killed and ate Tanisha, he had been smoking PCP with Tanisha's boyfriend. Big Lurch's lawyer tried to get him off on an insanity plea because of the PCP, but the judge said that drugs can't be used for insanity pleas. Big Lurch ended up going down for a life sentence without the possibility of parole, and he's been locked up ever since. Jaydes is a Florida rapper who wanted to be like XXXTentacion, but now it's looking like he'll be doing serious time before he ever really popped off. Jaydes started blowing up on TikTok in 2022 with the track Rose. Just like Big Lurch, Jaydes had some wild lyrics on tracks like Junkie when he rapped, killed my girlfriend and it felt so good. I opened up her body and I ate her guts. And I'm finna kill you. Do you fucking hear me? Jaydes fans thought the bars were just to get attention. But then in 2024, the whole situation changed. The cops put a warrant out on Jaydes for stabbing his ex-girlfriend in the neck and arms with scissors and a box cutter because she wouldn't hook up with him. The cops didn't find him immediately though, and someone spotted Jaydes walking around Denny's holding a knife. The cops pulled up to the scene and booked Jaydes on attempted murder, but then the charge got changed to aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Jaydes was obviously crashing out and going crazy, but the judge still let him out on bond. And then just a month later, Jaydes tried to do the race and made it all the way to New Jersey before the cops found him and brought him back to Florida. Jaydes was really starting to pop off in the underground rap scene and could have blown up, but now he's facing decades in prison and nobody knows when he'll see daylight again. Remy Ma is more known for being on TV than in the booth, but back in the day, she was rocking with Big Pun, Fat Joe, and the Terror Squad, and in 2007, she almost caught a body when she shot her own friend. Back in 2007, Remy Ma got into a fight with her friend Makita because Remy thought Makita stole $3K from her. Remy Ma and Makita had allegedly been friends for years, but that didn't stop Remy from upping her strap and shooting Makita in the chest. Then while Makita was sitting there leaking from the gunshot, Remy Ma ran through her purse and found out that Makita didn't even have any cash on her. Then after Remy caught an attempted murder charge for shooting Makita, she picked up more charges for witness tampering because she told some of her goons to attack one of the witnesses' boyfriends. Remy Ma got convicted and went to prison for 6 years, but the drama wasn't over yet. When she came home, Remy started getting big on TV shows like Love and Hip Hop, and in 2019, she got arrested again for putting hands on another woman from the show. Remy Ma allegedly punched Brittany Taylor in her face at a concert, but the case got dropped because the only witness that saw it go down stopped talking to the cops. Remy hasn't had any more legal drama, but now her son is facing a murder charge for killing a dude in New York. Remy's son Jason was booked in 2024 for allegedly shooting a dude named Darius Gillibo in the head. Darius was allegedly moving a lot of weight in the city and had been named in a huge indictment. And rumors say Remy's son Jason was in the mix with him, and that's why the murder went down. Hot Boy popped off in the Florida rap game in 2016 with his track Switcheroo, but he got locked up right after the track started getting some buzz. When he came back home, Hot Boy tried to keep it pushing in the rap game, but at the same time, he had a deadly beef with another Orlando rapper named Glock 9. Bodies were dropping on both sides, and Hot Boy ended up getting arrested again after one of his homies died. While Hot Boy was at his homie's funeral, the cops found a gun in his whip, but eventually the case got dropped. That wasn't the end of the legal drama though. And in 2020, he got arrested 2 more times on gun charges. Hot Boy was still trying to keep his momentum up in the rap game, but then in 2021, him and his gang got hit with Rico charges. Hot Boy and Glock 9's crew have been killing each other and shooting up houses all over Orlando, and the cops wanted to take all of them off the street. They started a special investigation called Operation X-Force and watched both gangs for almost a year. Then booked Hot Boy, Glock 9, and 32 other dudes who were allegedly involved in the war. Hot Boy actually got out on bond while he was fighting the case, but then he got caught with another gun and went back to prison. He was facing decades on the Rico case, and the situation didn't look good for Hot Boy. His crew had allegedly killed at least 3 dudes in Orlando, and the cops thought Hot Boy was calling the shots. It was looking like they was gonna throw the book at Hot Boy, but his lawyer came in clutch and beat the case. The prosecutors were claiming that Hot Boy ran a gang called 438, but Hot Boy's lawyer said that 438 was just the area code from where Hot Boy lived, and he wasn't actually promoting the gang. What's crazy is that the defense actually worked, and Hot Boy came home in 2024. It was a huge win that nobody saw coming, but then Hot Boy fumbled it and got arrested just a few months after he got out over a probation violation. Hot Boy got out of jail fast on that case, but now he's facing another prison sentence because he can't stop crashing out. In July 2025, the news broke that Hot Boy was booked after he trespassed at a school and had a gun on him. Hot Boy had been talking about finally dropping a new project in 2025, but now there's no telling when he'll be free to hit the studio again. He might be going back to prison, but his main op just beat a murder and is coming home sooner than anyone thought. Glock 9 got booked on the same Rico case that got Hot Boy locked up, but he's been getting locked up since he was 15 years old. Back in 2015, Glock 9 got arrested for a shooting that almost killed someone. He spent some time in juvie for that case, and a couple years later, he went to real jail for the first time on gun charges. The streets in Orlando were crazy, and Glock 9 got booked 3 more times for drugs and guns. And then in 2021, he finally caught some charges that stuck and got hit with a 7-year sentence for identity theft and guns. 7 years is already tough, but Hot Boy is facing a 2nd-degree murder charge at the same time. The murder case could have added decades to the sentence, but rumors say that the murder got dropped, and Glock 9 hopped on social media in 2025 and said he only had 16 more months before he comes home. YNW Melly got booked for killing 2 of his homies in 2019, but he had to sit in jail for almost 5 years before he even got a trial. According to the cops, Melly and his homie Portland killed their homie Sack Chaser in juvie over some money. Then they set up the scene to make it look like a drive-by. Melly got locked up and couldn't get bond because he got caught trying to escape from jail, and then the case took a crazy turn. While Melly was waiting for trial, part of a detective's deposition leaked where he was talking about Melly putting a hit out on his own mom. The situation wasn't looking good for Melly, and when his trial finally started in 2023, the state had a ton of evidence against him. There was a lot of static between Melly and his homie Sack Chaser in juvie, and that made Melly look pretty sketchy. And at one point, Sack Chaser told him, "Before I let something happen to me or play with my family, everybody will die." Melly's mom was allegedly involved with the drama in the YNW crew, and Melly told Sack Chaser he wouldn't care if Sack Chaser killed his mom because she sold her soul. Everyone thought Melly was cooked, but then the state fumbled the case like crazy. First, the prosecutors got aired out by the judge for holding out documents from Melly's defense team. Then they couldn't use some evidence against Melly because they had new DNA tests run and didn't tell the defense about it. Then a crazy viral moment went down when a witness named Detective Danny Polo walked in wearing a ski mask on his head. Polo said he had to wear a mask because he had a $50K bounty on his head, but the situation was wild and definitely threw the jury off. By the time the prosecution and defense were finished, the jury couldn't decide if Melly was guilty or not. They spent 3 days trying to make a decision, but eventually, the judge had to call it a mistrial and do the whole thing again. They tried to get the new trial started a few months after the first one ended because Melly was still sitting in jail, but in 2024, it got pushed back. Then in July 2024, a new judge took the case and set the trial date for September 2025. But then the case took another wild twist when the news broke that Melly's lawyer was under investigation too. Raven Liberty was part of Melly's defense team, and now she's being investigated for witness tampering. The trial got delayed even more because Melly's team is trying to block a huge piece of evidence. Before Melly got locked up, his crew made a documentary about him, and at the end of the documentary, it says, 4 days after the completion of this film, YNW Melly and his friends were the targets of a drive-by shooting in Miami, Florida. Melly's own team putting that out is huge, because Melly's claiming he wasn't even at the scene when Sack Chaser and Juvie got killed. The courts are still fighting about the video being used in the new trial, so the trial got pushed back again and won't start until 2027. Everybody in the rap game knows about Master P and No Limit Records, but a lot of fans have no idea about the crazy story of Master P's brother, Shmurda, and how he caught a life sentence. Back in the day, Shmurda was making huge waves in the rap game. He went platinum in '98 with his record Life or Death, but a few years later, he caught a murder case and has been locked up ever since. Back in 2002, a dude named Steve Thomas was beaten and shot to death at Platinum Club in Harvey, Louisiana. Shmurda got booked for it and was out on house arrest at first. But after he fought the case for 7 years, the trial finally went down in 2009 and everything went wrong. A bouncer at the club said he watched Shmurda pull the trigger, but there wasn't a lot of evidence against Shmurda. 2 of the jurors didn't want to convict him, but then they were bullied by the rest of the jury until they agreed to send Shmurda to prison for life. The 2 main witnesses took their claims back after the trial was over, but by that point, it was too late. The bouncer said the cops threatened him with 10 years in prison if he didn't testify against Shmurda, and another witness said the police locked him in a hotel room until he agreed to testify. It was clear that the whole situation was corrupt, but nobody in the court system cared enough to give Shmurda a new trial, and he's still locked up today. Lil Durk's homie RondoNumbaNine was making waves in the Chicago drill scene back in the day and went crazy viral after he posted a photo holding a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher turned out to be fake, but RondoNumbaNine had real weapons too, and ended up killing an innocent dude with his homie C-Day. According to rumors, RondoNumbaNine and C-Day were both at a party with some girls, and the girls told him some Opps had been messing with them. The Opps had already left the party, so Rondo and C-Day hit the streets to look for him. The story behind what happened next is a little bit unclear, but some of the women allegedly pointed out a car they thought the Opps were in. So Rondo and C-Day went up to press whoever was in the whip. The dude inside the car was just a taxi driver named Javon Boyd though. He didn't have anything to do with the war in Chirac, but that didn't stop Rondo and C-Day from upping their guns and leaving them dead at the scene. It was a sloppy move all around. RondoNumbaNine and C-Day murdered Javon Boyd right in front of a camera, and both of them were wearing clothes that the cops could easily point out from their social media. And what made the situation even worse for them is that C-Day dropped his phone at the scene. Rondo and C-Day both went down on murder charges and got hit with almost 40 years. Lil Durk was saying back in 2018 that Rondo was coming home that year, but now it's clear that RondoNumbaNine and C-Day aren't even close to getting out. A lot of people had their whole lives and careers destroyed by Diddy, but one of the craziest stories is what happened to Shine. Shine got a 7-figure deal with P. Diddy's record label, Bad Boy Records, back in the 90s and started hanging out with Diddy a lot. Going to the club with Diddy and J-Lo was crazy for a dude who had just been freestyling on the streets, but what Shine didn't know is that Diddy was going to change his life in the worst way possible. According to rumors, J-Lo helped Diddy and Shine sneak their guns into the club, and after Diddy got into a fight with a dude named Scar, both sides started shooting and 3 people got hit. Shine and Diddy both got booked for the shooting, but witnesses said Diddy was the only one who actually shot people. Shine allegedly just shot his gun into the air to make everyone scatter, and witnesses say Diddy actually shot a woman in the face. Diddy and his team dumped the whole thing on Shine though, and threw him under the bus completely. Diddy got off without doing any time, while Shine went down for 10 years. But that's not even the craziest part of the story. According to Diddy's old bodyguard Gene Deal, Diddy sacrificed a white bird just a few hours before the trial started because he thought it would help him beat the case. Shine eventually went back to his home country of Belize after spending 9 years in prison for the shooting. There was another twist in the story when Shine decided to get into politics, and he's been staying as far away from Diddy as possible ever since. Gucci Mane is a legend in the rap game now, but he used to be one of the biggest crash outs in the industry and was always going in and out of jail. Gucci started pushing weight when he was young. At first, he was just selling weed with his brother, but then he used some money he got for Christmas to buy crack and started selling it. Gucci went to jail for cocaine and served 90 days, but the next case he caught almost ended everything. In 2005, Jeezy allegedly sent some goons to rob Gucci. Gucci was sleeping with a girl at the time when the goons broke in. He started shooting and killed one of them while the others ran off. The dude was named Pookie Loke, and Gucci dumped his body behind the middle school and found a new girl to finish the night off with. A week later, Gucci turned himself in and the cops hit him with a murder charge. At the same time Gucci was fighting the murder case, he got hit with an additional 6 months for putting hands on a promoter. But luckily the murder charge got dropped and Gucci came home in 2006. He didn't stay out of trouble for long though, cause he kept violating his probation. Gucci got out again in 2010, but just a few months later, he got booked for driving down the wrong side of the road. He was crashing out all the time, and the judge ordered Gucci to go to a psychiatric hospital. But that still didn't help him out, and he got arrested 2 more times in 1 week for battery and assault with a deadly weapon. Gucci stayed out of trouble for a little while, but then in 2013, he started attacking his own fans. Gucci hit one dude on the head with a bottle, and another fan got punched in the face after Gucci's show in Philadelphia. That's when Gucci's crash outs really started making the news, because in September 2013, he went on one of the most infamous Twitter rants of all time and called out the whole industry. And a few days later, one of Gucci's homies called the cops on him because Gucci was acting crazy. When the cops showed up, they found a gun and weed on Gucci, so he got hit with new charges. Carrying the strap made the feds get involved, and Gucci was facing 20 years in prison. He pleaded guilty instead of taking it to trial though, and Gucci only had to serve 3 years. Sitting down for 3 years ain't easy, but it probably saved Gucci's life. He got sober while he was in prison, and after he got out in 2016, Gucci was so different that people started saying that the real Gucci died and somebody replaced him with a clone. Some rappers can't stop crashing out and keep getting locked up, but Meek Mill spent years in jail just because the judge wanted to be friends with him. It all started when Meek Mill got booked for drugs and a gun back in 2008. The judge on that case was a woman named Jaydes Brinkley, and after that, she pretty much ran Meek Mill's life. Jaydes Brinkley was the one who put Meek on 5 years of probation, and she basically locked him up whenever she felt like it. The situation was crazy because sometimes Jaydes Brinkley acted like she was trying to be Meek's mom. She locked him up on a probation violation in 2013 and ordered him to take etiquette classes. And then everything got even weirder. Meek Mill couldn't travel and do shows without getting it okayed with Jaydes Brinkley. And in 2015, she had him arrested again for performing at the BET Awards without getting approval. She ended up giving Meek another 6 years of probation so she could keep controlling him, and Jaydes Brinkley was also trying to get Meek Mill to leave Jay-Z's Roc Nation label and sign with her friend instead. Nicki Minaj got wrapped up in the situation too, because Jaydes Brinkley wanted to hang out with her and Meek while they were dating. And one time when she was talking to Meek, Jaydes Brinkley asked him to record a cover of On Bended Knee from Boyz II Men and give her a shout out on the track. Meek Mill eventually got sentenced and was handed 2 to 4 years in prison for violating parole. And that's when the hashtag Free Meek Mill movement really took off. Jay-Z, Kevin Hart, and more celebrities stepped up to support Meek. And in 2019, Meek had all of his charges dropped except a misdemeanor gun case. Tay-K might be the most famous crash out in the rap game, and in 2025, his release date started going viral. Tay-K was already serving a 55-year sentence for being involved with the murder of a dude named Ethan Walker, but his fans were still hoping Tay-K might eventually come home and hop back in the booth. But then in 2025, Tay-K got convicted of a second murder for shooting a dude named Mark Anthony Saldivar while he was doing the race back in 2017. Tay-K didn't get convicted on the capital murder charge that would have given him a mandatory life sentence, but now everyone knows that Tay-K still isn't never coming home. According to new jail records, Tay-K's projected release date isn't until 2099. He'll be up for parole in 2049, but his chances of getting parole granted isn't looking great. 2 murder cases, running from the cops, and starting a gang in prison aren't good looks for the parole board. And now Tay-K's fans are finally admitting that he's cooked for real. Suge Knight is one of the scariest dudes in rap history, but a lot of people have no idea how brutal he really was. Back when Suge was working as a bouncer, he got booked 8 times for guns and assault with a deadly weapon. But somehow he skated on everything without spending time in jail. After he started Death Row Records, the violence went to a new level though. And one time, he brutally attacked 2 rappers in the studio and allegedly made them drink his piss. Suge caught a new Fed case over the situation, but he still didn't do any time after he pleaded no contest and got off with more probation. The first time Suge did any real time was after he got into a fight at a casino in Vegas on the night that Tupac got killed. Suge got hit with 9 years in prison for violating parole, but he came home early in 2001. It wasn't long before Suge got violent again though, and in 2003, Suge went back to prison after he put hands on a parking lot attendant. Suge spent the next few years getting shot and knocked out a couple times. He had a little drama with the cops, but it wasn't anything serious, until 2015 when he murdered his own homie. Suge had beef over the Straight Outta Compton movie and showed up to the set to press the people working on it. Suge's homie Terry Carter and another dude named Cleve Sloan met Suge at a burger spot around the film set. It's still not clear how it all went down, but Suge hit Terry and Cleve with his truck and killed Terry. This time Suge couldn't skate on the case, and the judge handed down a 28-year sentence. Bobby Shmurda had one of the fastest come-ups in rap history, but the fall-off happened even faster. Bobby Shmurda's track Hot Nigga made him a star overnight. Everyone in the game from Jay-Z and Beyonce to Drake were doing the dance Bobby Shmurda made for the video, and Epic Records gave him a deal off the jump. Bobby really came up in the streets repping a crew called GS9 though, and in June 2014, he got caught with a gun. Bobby came home on bail and was becoming one of the hottest rappers in the game though. He was doing TV shows and running up huge numbers. But then in December 2014, the cops took Bobby and 14 other GS9 affiliates down. The cops used Bobby's lyrics against him, like when he rapped, "I've been selling crack since like the 5th grade." And tell my niggas, Shmurda teaming, ho. Mitch caught a body about a week ago. Fuck with us, and then we tweaking, ho. Bobby fought the case for years and was facing up to 25 in prison. Then the situation got even worse, cause Bobby and his girlfriend got caught trying to smuggle a knife into Rikers Island. It looked like Bobby was gonna take it to trial, but then he took a plea deal for 7 years to help out his homie Rowdy Rebel. They wanted to give Bobby 5 and Rowdy Rebel 12, but Bobby stepped up and took 2 extra years so Rowdy would get to come home at the same time. Everyone gave Bobby Shmurda respect for staying solid to his crew, but going to prison wrecked his whole career and he fell off completely. There was some hype behind him when Bobby came home in 2021, but it didn't last. And in 2025, Bobby Shmurda got clowned like crazy when his tour got canceled. Bobby tried to blame the promoters, but then the promoters clapped back and exposed Bobby because he allegedly only sold 10 tickets for every show on the tour. If Bobby Shmurda didn't go to prison, he'd probably still have a name in the industry, but it's gonna be hard to come back from this fall off. NBA Youngboy is one of the biggest rappers in the game, but there's no telling how huge he'd be if he wasn't always catching cases. Youngboy started going to jail when he was still a teenager. When he was 15, Youngboy used to steal batteries out of 18-wheelers and sell them to make money for studio time. And that year, he got booked on his first charge. Youngboy only spent 6 months in juvie, but the next case could have sent him away for decades. Youngboy fell out with his old homies in a crew called TBG and started rocking with his cousin Boozilla. Boozilla had been Youngboy's op because of street politics. They squashed the beef and started rocking with each other. But then Boozilla got killed and Youngboy slid for him on the same day. Youngboy, his homie NBA Joe, and some other NBA affiliates got into a shootout with the Opps and NBA Joe got hit in the neck. When the cops found Youngboy a couple weeks later, he was facing 2 attempted murder charges, but luckily he pleaded guilty to aggravated assault instead and only had to go to prison for a few months. Youngboy never stayed out of trouble for long though, and in 2018, he got hit with assault and kidnapping charges after he allegedly put hands on his ex-girlfriend Jania. Then in 2019, one of his bodyguards sued Youngboy because Youngboy allegedly attacked him backstage. That same year, the Opps tried to kill Youngboy outside his hotel in Miami. He survived the shooting, but Youngboy was caught hanging out with the homies who slid with him after Boozilla died, so the judge sent him back to jail for 90 days. Youngboy came home for a few months, and fans were ready for him to finally go on tour. More drama was on the way though, and in 2020, Youngboy caught the case that kept him locked down for the next 5 years. Youngboy was shooting a music video, and somebody called the cops on his crew. When the police rolled up, they found all kinds of guns, so Youngboy and his homies all got locked up. Youngboy was let out on bond first, but then he got caught with another gun in LA. Youngboy tried to run off on foot, but that didn't work out because the cops were all over him. After that, Youngboy was locked down on house arrest in Utah for years while he waited for trial. He ended up catching more cases while he was on house arrest and got sent back to jail. Youngboy was facing decades behind bars again because he had so many open cases against him. But in 2024, he took a global plea and got hit with 23 months in prison. It looked like Youngboy was going to be sitting down for a couple of years, but he ended up coming home in March 2025 and even got a presidential pardon. Silento had a huge hit in 2015 when he dropped the track Watch Me Whip. He was only 17 when the track blew up, and it looked like he was going to take over the whole game. But then the story took a brutal and crazy turn, and now he's serving 30 years for killing his own cousin. Silento had a wild come up that most fans had no idea about. When he was born, he had cocaine, heroin, and marijuana in his blood. And Silento grew up watching his own family members trying to kill each other. Silento's career fell off fast, but most one-hit wonders don't do anything crazy like what happened next. In August 2020, Silento got booked for allegedly putting hands on his girlfriend. The cops let him out though, and the next day, he walked into a random crib in LA with a hatchet looking for his girlfriend. Silento started swinging the hatchet at the people in the crib, but luckily, they were able to take him down and call the cops. Silento picked up 2 charges for assault with a deadly weapon, but stayed free. Then a couple months later, he got caught driving 143 miles per hour in Atlanta, and when the cops pulled him over, Silento said he could drive that fast because he was not a regular person.
Why are you doing 143?
Because I get followed everywhere I go.
But that gives you no right to be doing 143.
If it's like 10 cars following me, I can't do 143 because I'm not a regular person.
The cops let him go the same day again though. Everyone knew that Silento was crashing out, but nobody expected what he did next. On January 21st, 2021, the cops found Silento's cousin, Frederick Rooks, bleeding out inside of a crib after he had been shot. Rooks died at the scene, and the cops tracked Silento down for the murder because he was caught on video and GPS data. Silento got hit with felony murder and malice murder charges and would have gotten automatic life sentence if he took it to trial, but he pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter instead and took 30 years. Turk used to be in the Hot Boys with Lil Wayne and had a ton of momentum behind him, but then he went from rapping to shooting cops and threw his whole life away. Turk split off from the Hot Boys and tried to make it independently in the rap game. Turk thought Birdman was playing with his money, so he left Cash Money and dropped a couple of records. They didn't make any waves in the industry though, and Turk still had both feet in the trenches because music wasn't bringing in the money. The cops had been watching Turk for a while because he was moving weight all over Memphis, and in January 2004, they surrounded his crib with a SWAT team. The cops opened up the apartment and stepped inside, and that's when shots started going off. Turk was shooting at the SWAT team with a pistol, so the cops busted back and they traded shots for over 15 minutes. When it was all over, Turk had been grazed by some bullets and 2 cops had been hit. They booked Turk on a first-degree attempted murder charge and locked him up for almost a decade, and that turned out to basically be the end of his whole career. But Turk wasn't the only Hot Boy who got locked up. BG rapped with Turk, Lil Wayne, and Juvenile in the Hot Boys, but after the crew broke up, BG kept it pushing and hit number 6 on the Billboard Top 200 charts. BG wasn't on the top of the game like Lil Wayne, but he still had a lot of momentum in the rap game, until the cops caught him with 2 stolen guns. One of BG's homies tried to take the fall for the guns, but he got caught lying, and that just made the situation worse for BG. He ended up pleading guilty for the guns and lying about the case, and the judge hit BG with a crazy 14-year sentence. BG was locked up for 11 years, but the drama still wasn't over when he came home. The judge wanted BG to hand over his lyrics before he could release new music, and BG was supposed to get approval before he did shows. But right after he came home, BG hopped in the booth with Gucci and dropped a new tape. He was doing shows too, so the cops booked him, and BG was facing prison again after being free for a couple of months. Luckily, the judge decided not to lock him up again, but BG had to tighten up how he was moving. Casanova came up repping a blood set called the Untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation Gang, and didn't start rapping until after he spent 8 years in prison. When Casanova was 19, he caught a robbery charge and spent 8 years locked up, and going to jail made him turn up in the streets even more. He told DJ Vlad that he was fighting pretty much every day behind bars and probably stabbed at least 12 dudes while he was on the inside.
I wouldn't be able to give you a number because it was just so much. It would be like yard fights and stuff, and you just, you know, you just swinging and you just doing stuff like that. So it probably, if you really want to tally it up, probably like 12 the most, I say.
Casanova spent some time on Rikers Island, and that's where he ended up meeting A$AP Rocky. So when Casanova came home, he hopped in the booth and popped off with the track Don't Run. Casanova got a record deal and even started his own label, but he never really left the streets. Casanova was allegedly still calling the shots in the untouchable Gorilla Stone crew, and in 2018, one of his homies choked out a woman and stole her phone after she tried to record Casanova at a restaurant. Then in 2020, Casanova was at a dice game when a fight broke out, and he ended up shooting a dude after one of his homies passed him a gun. A few months later, Casanova and the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation got hit with a federal Rico case, and Casanova was facing 50 years if he took it to trial and lost. Casanova decided to take a plea deal, and fans were hoping he'd get out fast. But then the judge hit him with a 15-year sentence, and Casanova has been locked up ever since. Casanova probably won't be free for a long time, but he's trying to turn everything around this time. In 2025, he did his first interview from prison with XXL and said that he's writing a kid's book and wants to keep young dudes from falling into the trenches like he did. YFN Lucci was one of the hottest rappers in Atlanta, but even though he was making crazy money and running up huge numbers, Lucci stayed in the streets and caught 10 years for sliding on the Opps and getting his own homie killed. Lucci linked up with some Bloods from Florida called the Miami Boys, and in 2020, his homie CP3 from the Miami Boys slid with Lucci on his Opps in Atlanta. They had another dude named James Adams with them in the whip. Lucci was driving through an op hood, and that's when CP3 and James Adams popped out of the windows and started letting off shots. The Opps didn't just run away though. One of them got hit in the stomach and dropped, but the rest of them busted back at Lucci's whip and hit James Adams in the head. Lucci and CP3 didn't want to get busted over the situation, so instead of dropping James Adams off at the hospital, they pushed him out of the whip and left him to bleed out in the street. It didn't take long for the cops to put the case together though. They booked CP3, Lucci, and their homie Liddy on Rico charges, and Lucci and CP3 almost didn't make it out alive. Lucci has a wild beef with Young Thug and his YSL crew, and some YSL dudes allegedly stabbed CP3 in jail. Then Lucci got stabbed by some other YSL goons while he was locked up. YSL Big Briss and Antonio Sumlin allegedly asked Young Thug for the green light on Lucci. Then a dude from YSL named J-Man allegedly stabbed Lucci after they got the okay. Lucci survived getting stabbed and eventually took a plea deal in the Rico case and got hit with 10 years. He had already been locked up for a few years though, and Lucci came back home just a few months after Young Thug. Everyone thought Young Thug was cooked after he got booked in 2022 on a huge 56-count Rico case. The prosecutors wanted to take down the whole YSL crew and arrested 27 of Thug's affiliates, but Thug was the one they really wanted to lock up. Then the situation got even worse for Thug because the cops raided his crib and found a bunch of drugs and guns, so they hit Thug with 6 more felonies. It's tough to beat a Rico case, but luckily for Thug, it was a state case instead of a federal one. When the feds hit you with a Rico, you're pretty much guaranteed to go down, but the prosecutors in Georgia fumbled Thug's case like crazy. There was a ton of drama in the courtroom from the jump, and it became the longest trial in Georgia's history. There were corrupt judges, lawyers getting arrested, and dudes trying to sneak drugs into the courtroom. Thug's health kept getting worse while he was locked up and fighting the trial, and at one point, he had to be put in the hospital because he was so sick during a court hearing. Thug and a bunch of his homies were facing decades in prison, but the prosecutors fumbled the case so bad that almost everyone ended up walking away from it. Going diamond and getting 2 Grammy nominations is a crazy win, but that didn't stop Fetty Wap from getting wrapped up in a huge drug ring on the East Coast. Fetty blew up in 2014 and became one of the biggest rappers in the game overnight. XXL put him in their 2015 freshman class, and in the same year, he became the first rapper to ever have 4 tracks in the top 10 hot rap songs chart at the same time. But then Fetty took his foot off the gas and started falling off. It's not clear what was going on behind the scenes, but Fetty ended up back in the trenches pushing heavy weight. Fetty was still doing shows and was supposed to be at Rolling Loud in New York, but the cops rushed him before he took the stage and busted Fetty and 5 of his homies on a Rico case. The cops found bricks of cocaine, heroin, and over $1.5 million in cash. According to the cops, the dudes Fetty was working with were shipping drugs from the East Coast to the West Coast. The feds didn't think Fetty was calling the shots, but still hit him with 6 years after he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute 500 grams or more of cocaine. Getting locked up for 6 years isn't easy, and Fetty's family's trying to get him a presidential pardon so he can get home early. In 2025, they started a petition to get Fetty out, and at the same time, Fetty dropped the track Forever and rapped, "If you could see my heart, look deep into my soul and feel this pain, I promise you won't look at me the same. Even when the sun shine bright, I feel it rain. I lost so much, feel like this shit won't end. Go through the cycles over and over again. No more losses, it's my time to win." Fetty Wap didn't get a pardon after the press run, but if he keeps his head down in prison, he should be out by 2027. Sheff G wasn't the biggest rapper in the New York drill scene, but what he was doing outside of the booth sounds like something out of a movie. Sheff came up in Brooklyn and started repping the A-Tray Gangsta Crips when he was just 12 years old. The first time he got arrested was for letting off shots at King's Plaza in Brooklyn. Then Sheff got booked again for fighting in 2014. He came home in 2015, but Sheff went right back inside on felony gun and robbery charges. After spending a year in jail, Sheff hopped in the booth and helped kick off the Brooklyn drill wave with his track No Suburbans. But right when the track was popping off, Sheff got booked again and was locked up till the beginning of 2018. After that, it seemed like Sheff was really trying to make it out of the streets and into the rap game. He stayed out of the legal drama for a few years, but in 2021, he got booked on another gun charge and the judge hit him with a 2-year sentence. 2 years wasn't that bad, but while Sheff was already locked up, he got hit with the craziest charges yet. In 2023, Sheff G, Sleepy Hollow, and 30 other A-Tray and 9-Way affiliates got booked on a huge indictment because they had been sliding on the Opps and dissing them in the booth. Sheff and his homies were beefing with the Blickies, ICG Babies, and other sets too. Nick Blicky allegedly got killed after he stabbed Sheff in the head. So Sheff dropped the track Start Some Shit and rapped, "Remember I got cut, the Opps is all in the spliff." The A-Trays were putting major pressure on the Blickies and allegedly killed Sniper Blicky too. Then after the hit went down, Sheff took the shooters out for a steak dinner to celebrate Sniper Blicky's death. Sheff G came home in 2024 from the gun charge he caught in 2021, but in 2025, he pleaded guilty to attempted murder and got hit with a 5-year sentence. Sheff showed up at a Donald Trump rally and was probably hoping he'd get a pardon too, but Trump didn't save him and Sheff might end up serving the full 5 years. Sleepy Hollow was named in the same indictment that got Sheff 5 years, but the cops only charged Sleepy Hollow with 1 count of conspiracy, and there wasn't any news about him catching any more charges or doing time over the situation. A lot of street rappers hopped off the porch when they were young, but Quando Rondo got booked for the first time when he was just 11 years old. His own aunt called the cops on him because he was fighting one of his cousins. And Quando got even more time in juvie because he was smoking weed and failed a drug test. They ended up letting Quando out on house arrest with an ankle monitor, but he got locked up again and sent to a military camp for kids. Quando still couldn't stay out of trouble though, because he was always fighting, so they sent him back to juvie. Quando got back out on house arrest and could have been free if he just chilled for a few months, but instead, he cut off his ankle monitor and tried to do the race. It worked for a little while though. Quando was crashing with his friends and hopping from crib to crib, but then he went back to his aunt's place and she ratted him out. Quando spent another 3 months in juvie, then he came home and got sent right back for another 4 months. Spending so much time in juvie just pushed Quando deeper into the streets, and when he came home the next time, he tried to hit his first real lick. Quando and his homies went to a rich neighborhood and tried to rob a house, but they tripped a silent alarm and the cops were on them fast. This time, Quando spent 15 months in juvie, and that's when he started rocking with the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips. Quando started getting locked up in real jail instead of juvie, and Quando realized he needed to switch up how he was moving before he got locked up for decades. He hopped in the booth and popped off in the rap game, but Quando never stopped pushing weight, and in 2023, he caught 2 bad cases. In June 2023, Quando and 18 other Rolling 60s members got booked on a gang indictment charge, and the cops said Quando was the one calling the shots. Quando got out on bond, but he almost lost it after he overdosed and crashed his whip. Quando stayed free for a couple of months, but then the feds picked him up in December and booked him for selling meth, fentanyl, cocaine, and weed. He was facing 20 years on the Fed case, and it looked like Quando was cooked at first. But instead of taking it to trial, Quando pleaded guilty and took a 5-year sentence instead. Some people think K-Flock is the biggest crash out in the New York drill scene, but before he popped off, he only had one charge from back in the day. When K-Flock was 15, he caught a robbery charge, but he never did time for it, and the judge just gave him a year of probation. But according to the cops, Flock and his homies were tearing up the streets like crazy, and in 2021, Flock got booked for killing an op from the OYs named Waska. Then while Flock was already locked up for the murder, the feds hit him and his crew with a Rico case. Everyone else took plea deals instead of going to trial, but K-Flock turned all the deals down and could end up with a life sentence. Flock got flipped on by one of his homies who told the cops that Flock shot an op for him. Then another op testified against K-Flock too. Luckily, K-Flock beat the murder charge because Waska's the one who allegedly sparked the situation when Flock killed him, but the jury still found Flock guilty of racketeering, gun charges, and violent crimes. If he got convicted for the murder, Flock would have had an automatic life sentence, but now he could end up just doing 10 years if the judge gives him the minimum sentence. There's no telling how much time Flock will actually get though, and it's really just up to whether or not the judge wants to cook him. Max B changed the whole rap game with his style, but before he could hit the mainstream, he got caught up in a crazy murder case and got hit with one of the longest sentences in rap history. Before Max B hopped in the booth, he'd already spent 8 years in prison on a robbery charge. Then when he came home, Max B linked up with his homie Cameron and started dropping music. Max B got out in 2005 and was all in on rapping. He dropped his first record and started linking up with Jim Jones in the booth. But then, in 2006, the situation took a crazy turn. According to the cops, Max B set up a robbery with his stepbrother, Kelvin Leardom, but the situation went left, and Max B's stepbrother killed the dude instead. Max B's girlfriend, Gina Conway, told Max about a dude named Alan Plowden. She said that Alan Plowden had money, so Max B allegedly sent his stepbrother Kelvin to rob him. Gina Conway and Kelvin went to the hotel where Alan Plowden was staying, and a woman named Giselle Neves answered the door when they knocked. Kelvin and Gina rushed Giselle and tied her up. Then they started looking around the hotel to find the money. Alan Plowden was sleeping, so Kelvin and Gina woke him up and asked him where the money was. Alan Plowden said he didn't have the money, so Kelvin forced him to call his homie, David Taylor. David Taylor was staying in a different room, but after Alan called him up, David Taylor came to his room. It's not clear exactly how it went down, but David Taylor and Kelvin ended up fighting over Kelvin's gun, and David Taylor got shot to death. Less than a week after the murder, the cops questioned Gina Conway, and she told them that Max B and Kelvin were the ones who set it all up. There wasn't a lot of evidence that Max B was actually involved with the situation. Gina Conway's statement is really what got him jammed up. And when Max B lost his trial, the judge gave him 75 years. It looked like Max B was gonna be gone for good. But then in 2016, Max B's convictions were vacated and he pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter instead of murder. This time, he only got a 20-year sentence, and if everything goes right, then he should be home around 2026. K-So has some momentum in the rap game, but the biggest reason people listen to his tracks is because they knew K-So was really crashing out and rapping about it. The war in Jacksonville was one of the craziest beefs in rap history, and K-So was killing Opps, then hopping in the booth to brag about it. K-So, his cousin Scotty, and Dominique Barner slid on a dude named Lil Buck in broad daylight, and that's only one of the cases that K-So was supposed to get a life sentence for. K-So hopped out and shot Lil Buck in front of a bunch of cameras and witnesses. Then he stood over Lil Buck and shot him so many times in the head that Lil Buck's teeth and brains were splattered all over the place. K-So was self-snitching from the jump after the hit went down. But then the situation got even worse because Dominique Barner and K-So's own dad testified against him. K-So was cooked and really didn't have a shot at beating the case. So he was probably the only one who was surprised when he got convicted of the Lil Buck murder. K-So's cousin Scotty went down for killing Lil Buck too, and now they're both facing life. What's crazy is that Scotty could have taken a deal and only served 15, but he took it to trial and probably won't ever come home. K-So is already cooked, and he could have told Scotty to take the deal. but they went down together instead, and now Scotty's kids won't have him around either. But even if K-So doesn't get a life sentence for Lil Buck, he's also facing a murder charge for killing Foolio's homie, Lil Bibby. K-So is probably going down for that hit too, cause he self-snitched like crazy after he allegedly killed Bibby and raps, "We blitzing shit, don't be bibbied out. We hitting shit, and shots a little bitch, bibbied out. And who the fuck wanna play with us? Fuck they dead guys. Bibby had a closed casket, I wasn't surprised." K-So's self-snitching was bad, but AR-Ab took self-snitching to a whole new level and caught a 45-year sentence. AR-Ab started out as a plumber, but then he jumped headfirst into the trenches and started a drug war in Philly. AR-Ab started getting locked up on small charges and always came right back home. At the same time, he was trying to make a name in the rap industry. But then in 2005, AR-Ab got booked on a murder charge. AR-Ab fought the case though, and ended up getting it dropped because the main witness withdrew his confession. AR-Ab came home and the cops were still watching him. But before the police could put together an investigation, the Opps slid on AR-Ab and hit him up 10 times. AR-Ab survived the shooting and must have felt like nobody could touch him, because that's when he became the most famous self-snitch in rap history. AR-Ab said he went to jail all the time because he was selling drugs and shooting ops.
I was always selling drugs and shooting motherfuckers, man, the whole time. That's why I went to jail. Of course, you know, I luckily I beat the gun case. It was drugs and I had a gun. It was like a week apart. So it was like, I'm lucky I beat the gun case, you know what I'm saying? I lost the drug case.
So nobody was surprised when AR-Ab got booked on more drug charges in 2013. He didn't do a lot of time on that case, but that's because the cops were still building the real indictment against him. And in 2018, AR-Ab and 8 of his homies got booked for moving weight all over Philly. One of AR-Ab's homies snitched on him about a murder too, and in 2021, AR-Ab got hit with a 45-year sentence. Taxstone spent some time in jail on gun and robbery charges, but then he came home and was on his way to becoming one of the biggest podcasters in the game. Taxstone was always starting beef though, especially with a rapper named Troy Ave. At first they were just sending shots on social media and in the booth, but then they ran into each other and the situation turned deadly. A fight broke out and shots started going off, and when everything was over, Troy Ave's bodyguard Banga was dead. Troy Ave got locked up for attempted murder at first, but then the cops found Taxstone's DNA all over the gun that killed Banga and booked him for the murder. Taxstone fought the case for 7 years, but when the trial finally went down, Troy Ave testified against him and Taxstone got sent away for 35 years. And on the day that Taxstone got convicted, Troy Ave dropped a diss track called Dear Hater I Won and rapped, "Got attempted murder cause I took the gun from him and bust back. This ain't no made up raps. I'm paraphrasing facts. I'm the king of the underground. You just an underground rap." And now, Taxstone is facing another 10 years for trying to smuggle drugs into prison. Taxstone and his homies threw a string out of a prison window, and somebody on the outside hooked a box full of drugs and cigarettes to the line so Taxstone and his crew could pull it back up. The dude on the outside got caught first. Then one of Taxstone's homies who was pulling the string back up fell off a trash can and made all kinds of noise. The COs ran up and found the box, and now Taxstone could get another decade over the situation.